keep doing this, but it's down here. Uh, I've been solo traveling for 30 years, and I honestly was sitting at my kitchen table one day, and I realized that when I take a day trip, when I'm halfway around the world, it was a much better experience than when I took a day trip here. And what it made me, and I didn't know what was going on. It's like, was I traveling to escape my life? You know, why am I a different person when I go away? And what it dawned on me is that when I went long distance, I was my authentic self. I was me. But when I was near home and near work, I kind of held back. And so once I realized that, the last couple of years, I've actually been practicing taking day trips. And so this talk is actually as a result of debriefing my experiences on how I made them so much better. And there's all kinds of things you can do for the day. And the mindset is you can go away the whole day, but you can go away a portion of the day. So I've had some really refreshing experiences just going out in the middle of the week and doing something, because that's not what I normally do. I usually wait for the weekend. I'm going to share one example with you that was totally outside my comfort zone, and it was one of the best things I ever did. So how do I do this? Oh, by the way, I early retired a year and a half ago as a chemist. I had a global job. I am not a travel agent, okay? And when I early retired, I said, well, what would you like to do? I asked myself. And I said, I want to wake up every day and either be traveling or talking about traveling or doing projects on traveling. And so I reinvented myself, and I'm a travel coach. I speak about travel, and I'm also a storyteller. And I actually had my first appearance on TV this week, and it's not shown yet. It's not going to be on public access TV in some towns. I don't know which ones, but I taped it in Norwalk. And my next dream is I'm going to produce my own public access show. And I'm not going to be doing it like a blogger. I'm not going to say, I went here and this looked like this. I'm going to talk about ways of traveling and how you can up your game. And so what I show you here is actually a jewelry from the window of Bergdorf Goodman. I was looking at windows Christmas Eve last year. And the reason why I bring this is that I just want stunning, engaging experiences. And so I sat down and I said, well, how do I do this? And what I realized, it's a combination of strategy, how you take the trip. It's a matter of, at times, doing a whole load of research, which doesn't have to be a drudge. It can be lots of fun. And then you can take a chance. And some people might take chances all the time, but I like to ebb and flow how I do this. Sometimes I plan, sometimes I take a chance, and sometimes I just see what happens and take a mixture of all. You say, okay, now what are you talking about? All right, this is one that I did research on. Does anyone have a clue what I was doing in this picture? I was in Manhattan. I was in Midtown Manhattan, and it was a festival of colors. It starts around May time, and you go to this event. It's an Indian holiday called Holi High, and you just walk around, and people paint you with powdered paint. And I worried a lot about this. I did research. It was just limited information. It's about celebrating the vibrancy of spring. And so I did as much research as I could. I researched from people on the street coming back, and I asked them, well, tell me some tips about this event. And they said, keep your mouth shut. There's a lot of people with green teeth on this event, and that the kids from NYU have the best colors. I go, I'm ready. All right, and so I was worried at first how they were going to paint me, and they did it in a really nice way. I first went up to kids and gave them instructions, and I had rainbows in my hair. And then people started getting really like with me. And this is how I pretty much turned out. And it was very freeing because then I accepted what people were doing for me. And I did the same in return. But, you know, it was the most fun part. And there was singing and dancing, and it was just very energetic. I liked going home on Metro North. People asked me, "Are you an artist?" And I said yes. All right, so I do like spiritual places. This is a picture I took at the Chung Yung Monastery in Carmel, New York. It's really not that far from here. And someone actually, I found about this place by networking. A photographer in the unemployment office showed me his phone and said, "You got to go here. It's spectacular to take photos." And when you get there, it's as if you've taken a plane halfway around the world. There's beautiful grounds. There's the biggest Buddha in the Western world. They have lake walk and pagodas and statues and libraries and places to, you know, to pray or just reflect. And then they also, on the weekends, serve you lunch. And it was like the most fabulous place, and it was free. The lunch was $6, and they tell you only eat what you want. But it was, wow. This isn't the big Buddha. I actually photographed the Buddha that looked the best. They gave tours and explained about Buddhism. All right, so that was an example of networking. Here's an example of taking things by chance. It was Labor Day in 2014, and I decided that I wasn't going to go anywhere, and then I'll just go for a walk on the beach. And this is the beach where near I live in Stratford. It's called Long Beach. And on my way back from my walk, I found a message in a bottle. And this is something that I never thought would ever happen in my life. I kind of dismissed the idea. But it's just by chance that I found it. And I think I found it because I was traveling solo. There was no distraction from conversation. And so I picked it up, and it was from a 9-year-old boy in the 3rd grade who had a wish that this bottle goes far and someone finds it. Well, someone found it, but it only went like a half a mile in a day. So I put a second note in the bottle, and I threw it back. And there's a lot more details to this story I could tell you after the talk. And a few weeks passed, and I got an email that said bottle. And they said, "Hello, we're a 57-year-old couple in Port Jefferson, New York. And we were walking, we found the bottle, and we're like so happy to be part of this venture. And so we're putting a 3rd message in the bottle and setting it off." And they did. And so right now this bottle is lost at sea. But besides myself, you can read about it on the Coca-Cola site. It's a global site. It's a feature article. But it's also been in the Hartford Courant, News Channel 8, and my local paper. And I all did that because this made me so happy, and I want to recognize this boy for doing that. All right, so I always wanted to go to the Florence Griswold Museum. Have any of you gone? You have. But now's a really good, I'm not sure the exact date of this. I'm now in Connecticut like 11 years, and like the first 8 years I kept getting the Connecticut Tourism Bulletin and pamphleting, looking at it, and I go, I don't know. Well, finally, I saw the listing of a fairy exhibit, fairy as in F-A-I-R-Y, and this exhibit is outside of the museum, and like people, local artists, and like children decorate fairy things around the trees, and it's situated along the water. So even in places where you don't think are going to be that novel, are. And they have to do a lot of interactive stuff with families there. All right, and then I get excited when there's very little information. Now, there's more information about this event. What do you think it is? It's Asparagus Festival. Have any of you been to the Asparagus Festival? Thumbs up. And I went in the rain, and it was still good. And this is at White Silo Farms. It's near New Fairfield. And you get to wine taste if you want. And they have like really old-fashioned bar. And so even if you go by yourself, you're going to talk to the people about at the bar of what your likes and dislikes. They have a lot of fruity wines. But most importantly, I didn't know at the time that they were hooked up with a culinary school. So their asparagus was like stuff that you only find in like Soho or Manhattan. It was like really, really fine dining that you got little tastes of asparagus for sale. And then they had folk singing, and they had an art display. And so everybody would you would taste the wine. And then if you were with friends, I wasn't with friends, so I didn't purchase a bottle for drinking there. I brought it home. But then you just buy a bottle of wine and just sit there and enjoy. And I had two friends that were going to go with me, and they canceled because it was raining, and they missed out. So go out even if it's raining. So this is actually in Old Lyme, New York, and after I finished with the Florence Griswold Museum, which art gallery, that was a sure bet, I thought. Then I did something I call GPS roulette. I wanted to go to lunch, and I didn't know where, so I just let my GPS lead me, and it led me to a fish store. And it was the most wonderful thing. It was Sunday afternoon. I was the only customer. I asked the lady, "Will you make me lunch?" She said, "Fine." After she made me lunch, and she was doing something like, it was called like a fish and wild rice soup. It's like, wow. And then she came out. I was eating outside, and she joined me. She was like my concierge. She told me where to shop. She told me where to go. She sent me home with crab-stuffed deviled eggs because she's not open the next day, and she had them left over. It's like I felt like I was family. And all I really did to her, I told her I'm on a day trip. I'm just exploring the area, and she just wanted to make it fabulous, and she did. But the most important thing is that you get started. And I want to tell you that I went to the Big E. Do you know what the Big E is? It's the United States Exhibitions that happens once a year. It's happening now in Springfield, Massachusetts. This week there was Connecticut Day, and it's a tremendously large state fair. And there's a parade at 5 o'clock. And so I actually went to the staging area of the parade and met the roller derby team. And what they and it was interesting because I'm by myself, so I want to talk. And that's like the best place to go chat is at the staging area of a parade, because everybody's waiting and they're happy to take all the time. And so I went and talked to every group waiting. And then when the parade started, I ran to the front, and I was sitting next to a lady I had just met, and I told her all kinds of stories about all these people. And she said, "How did you know that?" That's been chatting it up. So I think if anything, it's just important to get started. And I'll be at the Big E next week on Thursday. I'll be in the tourism booth. I volunteered my time. All right, so enough about me. How do I actually do this, And the library has kindly put out a number of resources that I use in the back, and nothing's like a good book. You can find some really, really interesting things on books, whether they're for weekends away or food lovers, or even where the curious places are in Connecticut. But what I've put together here, these are all places that I go to, like on the weekend, if I don't have them pushed to me in information. Like, I know not everybody uses Twitter. For many years, I didn't have any social media till last year, which I realized that even if I don't tweet, if I accept tweets from a lot of places I might want to go, I'll find out about the various events happening, and I do that now. Okay. My battery is low, and this is not my computer. Hmm. Can I have one volunteer to walk across the corridor and tell them I need to know how to plug the computer in? Because I do have my own, this is their computer. All right, so these are various places. Oh, and these are some additional ones. What I added here are some of the places, some of the resources that you can find on the internet to get ideas about where to go. And then, I know you can't read this, but I have a meetup group called Gotta Travel Solo, and we do take day trips. Last week we went to the Stratford Beach and attended a bonfire and a concert. We'll be going actually next week to go whale watching. And we consist of not just single people. We have people in our group that their spouse or significant other doesn't like to travel, so they come and join us. And then, I don't know about you, I love discounts. So a lot of times I get ideas from either Living, Social, Groupon, or Amazon. And like right now, one of my Groupons that I have is for Sultana Salt Caves. Have you ever heard about that? Oh, the person who knows is smiling. Um, yes. Have you been there? No, I've seen that. Okay, so the Groupon can get you in for $20 to $25 instead of $40, and which is really nice. So it's like no risk trial, and you go into this room with Himalayan salts, and they give you the equivalent of 3 days at the ocean in 45 minutes. And for me, it feels like the fountain of youth. It just clears. I have allergies and things. It clears everything up. And I took a selfie the first time I was there, and I look 5 years younger. You're just like very, very relaxed. So if you go there, or you want to go there, tell me, and maybe we'll go at the same time. It said 7% battery left on this.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see what we can do to fix it. We'll just re-plug it in. Here you go.
Oh, okay. Didn't see it so simple. Okay. All right, so I went on some of the local sources, and I wanted to give you some ideas in case you wanted to take a day away like now. And as I said, you can get refreshing and relaxation even from shorter events. And so here are some of my local picks. This is a dance company, and it's at the Ridgefield Playhouse. And I get really excited when I see groups coming in from New York area, because I think when I moved up to Connecticut, that's what I missed, and I see more and more of that now. So think about it. You can go see this world-renowned dance company and not take Metro North to see them. All right, then if you are an early riser, tomorrow between 9 and 11 is the Millstone Farm Bird Walk, and it's $15, and you register in your website. And it's going to be a nice day tomorrow. You've probably been to the Silvermine Art Center. I haven't yet, but this really appeals. Sorry about the text. Appeals to me because it's not just art. They're talking about art and its political impact. And so a lot of times I will go for things a day away that I don't know anything about or I haven't thought about, or it's just not my topic, but it'll be interesting to learn a little bit as I go away. And then I've been seeing this posted. I haven't done it, the meditation. Has anyone done the meditation? Did you enjoy it? Yeah, that reminds me of vacation because I went on a Panama Canal cruise and we had meditation every morning that we weren't in a stop. And so I can't, just doing this, and you don't need to know how to do it, you just go and follow the instructions. And just doing this for 10 or 15 minutes gives you so much perspective to your day. Does it make you feel better?
And you don't have to sit like that either.
Oh, so you could sit in a chair, right? They're moving this around now. I've seen it now in Fairfield County. This is one I would do. I did one, not this one. I did Tai Chi. I went to Tai Chi in a Bridgeport library. I had no idea. They have a secret garden, and twice a week they do Tai Chi in the secret garden in the summer. It's like, oh my! I took it and I just couldn't believe it. It's like, wow, what an experience. And then I thought this was really interesting, Wilton Historical Society. I don't follow them, but every so often they have like interesting things going on. And this is all about rug hooking. It's like, wow. And that's next week, Thursday at 4 to 5:30 p.m. at the Wilton Historical Society, which I perceived is not a bad distance away from here. Okay, so I told you a little bit about my strategy, and here I'm going to talk a little bit about the steps I take to get amazing days away. And I would say the best daycations is when I go as far as possible outside that what I usually do. Because what happens is like all the daily, I'll call it clutter of your life, the schedule, everything just like peels away and you can just be you. And I'm going to give you some examples where I went outside my usual, and then I will give you some invites of things that I'm going to do that are outside my usual. You're not going to believe it, okay? Because actually, earlier this year, I made a New Year's resolution to be more adventuresome. This is the first time in my life that 3/4 of the year has gone by, and my resolution has stuck. And I can't wait, to do more of that. Ask a question, and just ask 1 or 2 questions to different people, and you'll get all kinds of information, And when you go to a full day event, you sit down and just reflect, just like be in the moment and allow yourself to just think. Giving and receiving acts of kindness, that's a powerful thing, and I'll give you an example. Really engaging with the place or other people. This is very important to me too, because I'm going by myself often, and I don't want to be silent the whole day. So I find the more that I do this, and it doesn't matter, you can be in a group, the better time you're going to be. You can go solo, and I'll give you an example of a great place to go solo. I really enjoy ethnic experiences, and I often do them before I vacation at a place. If I'm going on a big trip, I will do some day trips that will bring the ethnicity to my fingertips. Or after I've gone somewhere and I really want to remember, I'll go to an exhibit or a place that reminds me of where I went. Be in the moment, see places as a tourist. Was really hard for me sometimes, but I learned to go slow. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like you go someplace and you say, oh, I saw that, and just leave. It's like places have different feelings and things happening at different times of the day. And sometimes you just have to sit there for a little bit or just stand there and take it in. Be a foodie, and I'll give you some local examples of how you can be a foodie nearby. You can take a day off for a social purpose, and I'll explain to you how I did that. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, so I love farms. And I love when I go on a farm, like kind of retreat day away, that it doesn't matter if I talk to anyone, because I give myself permission to talk to the animals. And then I love free. I love free. Okay, so this is out of my comfort zone. This is Sunday night. I was still working at the time, and I didn't have enough. I just said I was just doing like housework and business, and I need to do something. And the only thing that crossed my paths that I could see was this South Indian fusion band. They played a mix of jazz, funk, other things, hip hop. And I went on YouTube. That's a beautiful place to go if you want to see what a band sounds like. And I didn't quite understand the music, but I saw people jumping up and down and dancing, and I go, oh, dancing, that sounds like fun. So this was at the Fairfield Theater Company. The band was called Red Barrett. And we sat down and we listened for one song. And this guy with the scarf on your right, he gets to the mic, he goes, "Okay, everyone, get up and dance." And we did for 2 hours straight. And you could see who went to the gym and who didn't go to the gym. And you could see this one lady was like pole dancing. And this is not a little kid either. And it's like people were with their kids. And oh my gosh, because it was Sunday night, only 50 people showed up. So it was like intimate. And everybody was just enjoying themselves. And when I got home that night, I felt like I'd gone to a wedding. That's how it was that I danced all night at a wedding. And then I said, what about a question? Well, this is an example. I was on the Coney Island Pier, and I was egged on by some people I was with, and they go, "Find out where that guy bought that hat. We want one." And so I asked him, "Hi, sir, where'd you get the hat?" And he goes, "Yeah, I love this hat. I bought it in Queens." And I said, "Can I take a photo with you?" And actually, it doesn't look like Coney Island because he's sitting on a good bench. He can see all the amusement rides and like all the landmarks where he's sitting. And then I realized he looks like Guillermo from the Jimmy Kimmel show. And so I'm like going, "Oh, can I take a photo with you?" He's like, "Yes." And so like just asking a question sort of like, oh my gosh. Not that I'm a fan of that guy, but like I love celebrity lookalikes. You never know. And this is at Caramore. Has anyone been to Caramore? Oh, yeah. Have you been? These are pictures of the American Folk Festival and also the Jazz Festival. And these are marathon music festivals. They start like noontime and then go into like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. If you choose, there's usually performances on stage, off stage. These are people who performed in the gardens. It's called, I don't know, it's called the sunken, something else, something like the Sunken Garden. They play without microphones. They just like are there, and you're in the midst of nature, and everybody's loving it. And this one with the guy with the red pants, it doesn't show there, but it was raining all day, and no one cared. We just like sat there with umbrellas and under the awning, and we just took it in, and it was so beautifully done. And that cost like $30 or $35 for the whole day. And so I recommend you checking it out, and it wasn't overly crowded either. Okay, acts of kindness. I was at West Rock Ridge Park. That's in Hamden area. And there weren't a lot of people there. And so I asked a few people, "Can you tell me something about this park?" And they did. And it led me to a town overview, which is very nice. And I was standing there, and I hear music. And it's this guy is in this covered area. And I said to him, "Wow, this is like perfect to have you playing here." It wasn't like the New York City subway. You know, how often have you gone to the park here and there's someone playing concert quality music? And so I started talking to him. I gave him $5. I said to him, "Please buy your next coffee on me." And then he told me his story. And he told me the story of his life, the story about his guitar. It was interesting. But then I shared something with him. And I told him that I have a client that wants a energy healing vacation. And do you know anything about this? And he said, yes. Where I am standing has the best energy of the whole park. And he was like not crazy. He was like meaning it. And he starts listing a bibliography of books for me to read. So you never know. Like it's sort of like I gave him an act of kindness buying, and he was down and out. This guy, he was dressed impeccably. He was not dressed poorly. And he told me the story how he had to sell his guitar to go to his daughter's graduation because he didn't have the money to get there. And then a few months later, he found the same guitar in a yard sale. He was able to repurchase it. So it was kind of interesting. And it's engaging yourself. It's maybe hard to believe, but one of the most engaging places I went was Harlem. And none of my friends would go with me. I went to the Harlem Art Crawl. And you hear that Harlem has gone through a lot of changes, and it has. And I was never felt so welcome on this. It's called the Art Crawl. You go to 3 different art galleries, and some of the artists are there. And you learn not only about, and they're very inventive, they're very creative. Not only you hear about their art, you hear about their lives. They take you on like a walking tour in between the galleries. They explain about the history of the buildings, and it's just sort of, I want to go back. And it was interesting. I did go to, have you ever heard of Sylvia's Restaurant in the Bronx? I liked it very much, but I didn't have the experience I wanted there. I wanted to sit at the counter with the locals, and they pushed me to a table for one. And it's okay. It was like not a good, it was like lunchtime, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But then I asked these people, well, how do I play this in Sylvia's to get to talk to the people? And they said, okay, go 10 o'clock in the morning for breakfast. They serve a phenomenal $5 breakfast, and you can talk to all the locals that you want. So I did go back this year. I went to the Harlem Eat Up, and this was, President Clinton was involved with this, and they had like it was like a 5-hour all-you-can-eat events where you ate the locals' food and their free beer and wine. I mean, there was an event charge to all this, but then again, I just said, oh, I'm going back to Harlem, so. If you're going to go solo, one of the best places to go solo is Arthur Avenue in the Bronx. And I see some smiles here. And it's called like the Little Italy of the Bronx. And the reason why I say you can go solo is that you can go into any store there and just start chatting. There's always a queue on Saturday, but that's part of the good part of it. You chat it up with everyone. They tell you where to buy, like they would tell me where to buy my mozzarella and where you buy your Parmesan and where you should go eat. And, who's been there? Like I go to Dominic's, but there's another restaurant down there that's got a car on the sidewalk. That's supposed to be the new hip place to go. But in Dominic's, I've been in Dominic's, and the people, they set you up in family-style tables, and so you can't really have your own table. So it turns out people to my left are from Connecticut, people from my right are from Connecticut, and then they'll ask you things like, oh, have you ever tried this before? You go, no, and all of a sudden they're taking a whole portion of their food and putting it on your plate. They didn't touch it yet. And so like, oh my gosh, there are no menus. It's sort of like go there, enjoy it, and manja. So it's like, it's not that far to drive. Okay, then, ethnic experiences. This is Spa Castle in College Point, New York. It's right by the Whitestone Bridge, but Queens is a little bit tricky. This is a Korean bathhouse. And you enter, they give you shorts and a top. And then you go, and there's like 10 different huts that are different temperatures, different humidities. Some of them have gold in them, so they're like, you go in and chill out in the gold. And there's like an ice room, so you can go and, kind of like plunge pool it. And you can hang out and have some food or have treatments as well. This is the one I told you about. I got $20 on a Groupon, I think. And what I really like, I went in November, and they have a pool, a jacuzzi up on the rooftop. So like, just imagine I've gone to one of those ski resorts and doing that. But if you don't like that, they have a jacuzzi that has a swim-up bar, and they also have just a regular one. And it's just sort of like that. I felt I was really away. I combined that, though you can have lunch there, I combined it with an Asian pulled noodle restaurant in Flushing, Queens. And actually the guy, I don't have the picture here, but the guy is actually pulling the noodles. You have to go downstairs to this like restaurant arcade, and nothing was in English. So you have to like network with the people who speak English there. And it was just an amazing, it was all counter service, and it was just delicious. It was amazing. And where else are you going to get lunch for $5? It was good. Okay, that's the photo I took right after Sultana Caves. And it's this is a Himalayan salt cavern. And if you talk to the lady who runs this place, the story behind this getting set up is that her son was asthmatic, had respiratory problems. She would take him to Poland every year because they have there's famous salt caves there. And so she actually created this for her son to feel better. And a lot of salt rooms don't necessarily look like this, but yeah, there's looks like a little hokey pokey, and I didn't believe it at all. But let me tell you, it's a worthwhile experience. Okay, so be a tourist in your own town. This is my town. This is Stratford, Connecticut. We have a forest called the Roosevelt Forest. I didn't go there for the first 9 years I was in Stratford. I finally went there. And if you know someone in Stratford, or you get to know me in Stratford, go with them, because if you don't have a Stratford resident sticker to go in there, the fine is $300. But but if you know somebody, and I think part of it, this is just something for the residents. But I take people that visit me just for the lark of like, I don't tell them there's the $300 fine. It's like, oh my gosh. And there's no one there watching. It's just sort of potluck. And there's lots of trails, and you can go barbecue there. And there are like swans on the lake. But it's like, there might be things like that nearby. I know you have lots of greenery near the community center. And then about going slow. I went to Kent Falls. Has anybody been there? My friend came over one day and said, this person was from Brooklyn, New York. I want to go to a waterfall. I've been in Connecticut 11 years. I've never been to a waterfall. So I just picked this one. It turns out to be a really good one. And in front of this waterfall is this like nice green grassy area with lots of picnic tables. And you can walk to the top of the falls, or you can go to various berry paths. And the thing is, like, that's the kind of thing about a waterfall. You go there, you go, oh, I've seen it. It's like, no, hang out. And especially, this is the Cornwall Bridge. That is not my car, unfortunately. And again, you can go through the bridge and go, oh, I went through the bridge, and it's a one-lane bridge. But then what I did is I parked, and there's a river there, and you sit down on the bench near the river, and you people watch, and there are people canoeing, and you just kind of take in the whole area. Then there's places to eat there if you'd like to eat. But I think what's unique over there, they have some potters, and you can just go in and look, but I really enjoyed looking at all the clay, different things that I didn't buy, only because, and we have some younger people here, but I have enough stuff now. I don't need, unless it suits a purpose. Like you talk about souvenirs, I rarely buy, any souvenir I buy is got to have a purpose to it, whether it's edible or wearable or something I need. Okay, foodies. I was kind of amazed because I was getting my hair cut one day, and my hairdresser said, what are you doing the rest of the day? And I go, I'm going to go, this is in Stratford, I'm going to go to this Eastern European store. I've lived here like 10 years, I've never been to it, and I had so much fun. And I think they were Czech, and I have some background there, and I've been to Prague. And it was interesting, I was the only one in the store, and they totally ignored me. And there weren't labels on things. And I was like so happy because it reminded me when I went to Prague. You had it wasn't, the information isn't offered to you. And I bought things I thought I'd never buy. Like it looked so disgusting. I bought, she said, I didn't know what it was, had no label on it. So I said, lady, what is this? She says mushroom salad. Okay, I like mushrooms, I like salad. And really was, I think it was like mushrooms and mayonnaise. And so I took it home, I go, I don't know. And then I ate a little bit, and wouldn't you know, that's what I grabbed the whole day. It's like, I want that mushroom salad. So there's like all kinds of things. And I heard about I haven't been to these only because I tried to find the New Canaan ones, and maybe someone helps me on New Canaan, but I found in Norwalk that people were really bragging about this Mexican place, which is like a little supermarket that makes meals. There's a little place, it's called Las Poltes. And then I know I want to go to the Taste of Philippines. I was really surprised to find Made in the USSR. That's in Norwalk. And then they have Taste of Poland. But if you want really good Polish food, I don't know, does anybody like Polish food? I went to New Britain, and I went to a Polish restaurant, and it's just like in another world. It's like, I ordered a pierogi, and it was nothing like I buy in the supermarket. It was like homemade. Next time I'll get steamed, they have like fried, and it was like, it must have been deep fried. It was like a wonton. So it's like very, very interesting. And the mugs, if anyone likes beer, the mugs of beer seem to be very large. Okay, Daycation with a social purpose. I was walking around my Long Beach in Stratford, and I got to thinking, my friend is an art teacher in the public school system in a desert. How do those kids get to see marine items very often? And so I wrote to her, because in Stratford, all our kids once a year get like a marine biology lesson on the shore. And I said to my friend Marcia, hey Marcia, would your kids like stuff that washes up, that I beach combed, and I'll send both natural and man-made stuff? And she said yes. And I did this over the course of 3 weeks, and then when they started working on the art project, daily I was getting pencil drawings and watercolors, and they were doing rubbings. They were doing amazing things. They were taking photographs of the items and arranging it in such a way that I would never thought about. So just me, 3 weeks of my walking, I had so much pleasure as I was walking at home. It's like all of a sudden, bing, 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 children's artwork. Maybe more exciting to me because I don't have my own children, but still, it was very, very, I felt their excitement about it. Okay, so as mentioned in the back, we have a listing of the museum passes that you can sign out. Oh, you are so lucky. You are so lucky. You know what you have here? Sorry. You have Wave Hill. See, like it's a yellow and brown on the top here. That place is the cover photo of my presentation. And I went, and it's just heaven. Like they have glass houses where they put the plants in. They have greenhouses, thank you. They have greenhouses that are not like what you normally see in a commercial sense or a botanical garden. They're like more rustic, but they're so packed with unusual stuff. And then you have views of the river. And then they have special events, like they have musical events. And it's just a place you can go, and you can combine that with Arthur Avenue. It's it's not walkable, but if you have a car, you can get to Arthur Avenue. And with Arthur Avenue, you can also pair it with the botanical gardens and the zoo, the Bronx Zoo. With the New York Botanical Gardens, has anyone seen the train show? See, people, oh, you did, oh, you did. You know, a lot of years people told me about this train show, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's a train show. It's like nothing you have ever seen. They have they have it in their greenhouse, which is very large, and they have trains going through historic landmarks, and all the historic landmarks are made of natural materials. It is the most incredible art that you have ever seen. And in there, the kids are walking around with their sketch pads. It's just, they've got like the Brooklyn Bridge, and the train is going over the Brooklyn Bridge. It's nothing like you can imagine. And then what else do you have here? Oh, I want to go to that air museum. I wish, I don't think I can sign this out. They don't, your library has more museum passes than my library. Okay, so this is me at the Connecticut Historical Society. And I had the best time. They had the 50 objects, 50 stories exhibit. And I met this astronaut figure, and I just started fooling around. Like I was telling people he was the man of my dreams. I was so nice to meet you. And people started snapping pictures of me. People were taking, the museum was taking videos of me. I'm like going, oh my gosh, you can have fun in museums. Okay, so I do take day trips to farms. I said one of the most unique one is this Beltane farm in Lebanon, Connecticut. Haven't been there in 2 years, but I'll tell you about my experience when I went there. In the spring, they have the baby goats. And this is a farm that it's like kind of a grassroots kind of place. It's like a family running this farm. And they make the most phenomenal goat cheese and other goat products. And so you go there for cheese tasting and then to see the baby goats. And if you're not an animal lover, okay, I'll keep this short. But when I got there, one of the other people just came up to me and handed me a baby goat. And they're so sweet, and they're not smelly or dirty or anything like that. And I walked around and held that baby goat for 45 minutes. It was like having my own pet goat. And you could bring your picnic there. They only do it twice a year. And then I was leaving, and the guy, I saw it on WTNH News Channel 8. That's how I got tipped off on this one. And the man who owns the place, he actually does a lot of if you can actually be a volunteer here if you want to do a volunteer extended vacation. I said to him, sorry, sir, but I need to use a restroom. Can you please tell me where I would find a public restroom? He said, just go in the house. And I'm going, wow. I mean, there weren't hundreds of people there. There was maybe 20, 30 people there. It's and he had a historic house. And that was so much fun. And really, they didn't clean, it was clean, but they didn't clean it up for us. So it's kind of walking into their house. It was quite unique. And then I in Easton, this is, should have left the name on it. Well, anyway, they have you can do apple picking and peach picking and whatever picking. And then they have animals that you can pet. And they have these old gumball machines that you put in a quarter and pet food comes out. And then I walk around and I see which animal will suck up to me the most. And whoever sucks up to me most gets the most food. It's fun. And then these are all pictures of the Big E. And then there's this llama farm. I don't know, maybe you don't get excited about llamas, but again, I'm from Brooklyn. We had no llamas there except for the zoo. This was in Watertown, and this retired executive opens his home a few times a year. His wife sells the wool, and he just lets you, he takes 15 or so of his favorite ones, he has 55 of them, and he puts them in an open area and lets you intermingle with the llamas. There's no gate between you and the llamas. And there, it's interesting, you get to interact with the llamas. You see little children there that have grown up their whole lives, and they're just so easygoing with the llamas. And then it's sort of, they expect nothing. So when I go up there, I've gone up there a couple of times. Sometimes they have baked goods that they sell, so you buy some baked goods. All right, now, I just found out about the Levitt Pavilion last year. And of anything, this is one thing starting in June, you should look at the events. It's both pay and free, but a lot of it is free. And you see, it's on this lawned area behind the Westport Library, and they have some phenomenal talent going on there, and everybody brings, you know, a picnic, bring your own bottle, and and I saw the Beatlemania group there. I saw Brazilian music there. It's just so effortless, and people are really kind over there. Like everybody will, when there's, because it's just a finite area, it's not huge, but everybody makes room for everyone else. And then we all get up by the stage and we dance, and that's fun. So I'm sure you've got your concerts as well here. Okay, so I said, this is me. I wish this was me. But you want to look at, you want to go and do things that you've never done before, or go to a place again and have a fresh set of eyes, because if you're willing to take some risks, it's going to pay out. And so at the what I'm my message is really, it's not so much where you go, but how you go. You know, and I was so happy. I was walking along Madison Avenue, and there is, no, Lexington Avenue, there is indeed a cupcake ATM. So it doesn't matter any time of the day, you can walk up and get a cupcake comes out of the machine in a box. And so this is so you don't have to go inside the business, because this is actually, they started this in California. So, okay, so the way I found this is I was going from Bloomingdale's. They were having a phenomenal sale. And then I had tickets at the Armory. The Armory in New York is like 66th Street and Park Avenue. They have artists in residence programs there. And then the artists who they give space to create their new work has performances. And I was out there seeing one of them. And I'm just saying, oh my gosh, this is just so much fun just seeing that happens. And then another thing that I've been doing recently is learning how to play the ukulele. The Westport Library has a ukulele meetup. So if you're willing, if you have a friend that has a ukulele, borrow it, or you know, go out and buy one. I bought a high-end one for $99. You can get one for $50. And once a month on Thursday nights, we learn a song together. Now, this makes me so happy, because I'm going to bring this ukulele to the beach, and I'm just going to play at the beach, you know. And I've just finished learning my second song. I'm trying to learn it by heart, and then I'm off, because I kind of like, I don't know about you, but this, you don't have to read music, nothing, and it's like so much fun. And then when you have 20 people playing the ukulele, you know, together, it's a very powerful thing. So here was my 2015 bucket list and the stars of where I've been. This one's really exciting me. This one right here, Iceland Affair. I think that's Winstead. That's happening in October. This lady is a travel agent. For the last 7 years, she's been doing a one-day festival on Iceland. And they bring in animals and foods and all kinds of cultural things during the day in the town. And then at night, that's free. And then a ticket in the evening, they fly Icelandic artists to the United States specifically to play at this. And so I'm actually doing this as an overnight and staying, because just a little bit, though, I believe it's Winstead. If you go on my business card in the back has my meetup group, and we're going, so you could see all the details right there. You do not have to be a member of my meetup group. You can, as I said, this meetup is a really good place to, I don't want to say spy, but I'm going to say spy on what other people are doing. And so you can see like all kinds of things coming up just by going on to meetup and looking for travel meetup groups, or in some cases just like mix and mingle people. Or there's a couple of, one bucket list isn't very active, but there's a bucket list group, I think, in North Haven. And so you just cannot believe some weeks. I mean, it's interesting. Everybody said to me, Nina's always going away. And what I want to tell them is that's my job. That's my job, to go away so I can come and speak to you about possibilities. And at times, there's so many things going on at the same time. Like last week, there was such a tremendous amount of stuff going on. It was so hard to pick. But my strategy is sort of like, you see something you like, grab it. And at first, I would spend an hour or two each week to figure out what to do on the weekends. I mean, but I like that because instead of watching TV, I did something interesting. And it's fun to imagine being these places, even if you don't go. But you just you takes a little effort to start learning how to find these kind of things. And as I said, you can set it up so some of them come to you. All right, I want to go to the High Line. Do you know what that is? It's a elevated highway in Midtown Manhattan that's no longer used, and so they have made it a greenway, and there's all kinds of stores and restaurants and events. And I want to see the Stanford blowing up of the balloons. But like, it's interesting. I didn't get to, oh, okay. This is the one I told you. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I want to do improv everywhere. Improv everywhere, social experiments where, and they've been doing this for years, to get groups of people together to do, I'll call it crazy things, but not illegal things. Last week they were in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, New York, and they did an MP3 experiment where people had headphones on listening to something and following instructions. Like you be in Prospect Park and all of a sudden you'll see thousands of people jumping jacks at the same time or standing like a statue. That's a kind of mild one. The one I want to do is the no pants subway ride. Now, no pants meaning you can keep your underwear on. In fact, in New York subway, you must keep your underwear on. Well, anyway, they had thousands of people. They've been doing this every year in New York City and around the world. You get instructions, and you go onto a subway car, and you take your pants off. And then you have to be nonchalant about it. Then you all get off and get to the next subway train, and then you walk on without your pants. And I just think that's the most hysterical thing. And you see, you can look up videos of this, and most of the people are very trim and lean doing this. And so I don't see any plus-size people, so I want to change that. But it's anywhere from, they said 3 months old to 80 years old. And you can watch videos. One guy had a baby in one of those things in front of him, and this lady comes up to him and says, "Sir, where's your pants?" And he says with a straight face, "Oh, I forgot them." She goes, "Sir, where's your baby's pants?" And he said, he forgot them too. And it's like, oh my God. So you imagine it's on a Sunday afternoon and it's like all tourists on the train. And then they have one big after party. And I almost went in January. No one of my friends, I will be going alone. No one of my friends would go with me. But the day after, they all asked me if I went. So I decided not to go only because I wasn't prepared. I realized I need to have really fabulous underwear, and so I'll be shopping for that. And so you've got my business card and email if you want to join me. So I'm just going to take Metro North, and it's going to be a late evening. And so you know what? You just got to go. You just got to start doing it. So I'm like hearing from you, like I go almost every week somewhere. How often do you go? Do you go like 5 times a year or 10 times? 10 times a year. How many people don't know? Like, I don't even know. Yeah. This is my 2016 bucket list, which I hope you will contribute to. Okay, so, and I have been, my first 8 years or so in Connecticut, I hardly went to New York City, and now I'm changing that. This first one, it's hard to tell, but they're in a shopping cart. They have shopping cart races with teams. I think it's February of every year, and you find that out through Time Out New York. If you only have one thing looking at for New York events, that's the one to have. I want to go again to the Arts and Ideas Festival. This is over a 2-week period in New Haven, and here they have a lot of nice free concerts on their green, but they have huge talents coming, and some of it very edgy, and that's really right up my alley. Like, I saw Canadian acrobats, the most innovative stuff you've ever seen. They're bringing circus to a new level. I also saw this gentleman, his name is Taylor Mack. I don't know if you've heard about him. He's a performing artist, and I'll call him a creator. He's working on a 24-hour show. He wants to do you know, 24 decades of music in one performance, and it's going to go all day. And so he's now working on individual decades. So I saw the 1990s in New Haven. It was the most outrageous thing. Granted, I think some people might get offended to some of his interpretations, but I've never seen such creativity. And so I actually went to see him a second time at the Armory, and I will be going to see more decades. You've never seen anything like it. Oh yeah, those roller derby girls I met at the Big E, their home base now is Trumbull. It used to be somewhere near West Hartford. Their home base now is Trumbull, and so I'm going to go. And just meeting them at the Big E really changed my. I had the perception from when I was growing up that roller derby girls were tough and all that, and maybe they are because they're very strong, but they had all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of walks of life. I want to go to the Peacoat Museum. Have you done that? That's near Mystic, and I've heard so many referrals. Oh, and this one, for the gentleman back there, don't mean to point out to you, but do you like gadgets? And this is a free museum in New Britain. That's where you can also get the Polish food I told you about. And it's a museum of gadgets and hardware. And I almost went there this year, but I didn't end up doing it. I'm going to go to the Mermaid Parade in Coney Island this next year. Saw people coming back from it when I was on Metro North. They were coming back as mermaids. And I said, I have to do that. There is something called Dance Parade that I have never heard of in New York. So I'm going to be, and they have like hundreds and hundreds of groups that dance in this parade. I want to go to the Three Kings Parade. I didn't go this year because of snow, but this is a parade of local children and bands and just celebrating the Three Kings. Oh, and I want to go to Ellis Island. I went to Governor's Island for the first time this year. That was unique. But I want to go there, and I have my grandparents came through there, and so that's been open for a long time, so I don't miss. Oh, because you should go on a Daycation because it can be ridiculously amazing. So do you have any suggestions? Anything I didn't mention? Anybody have a good Daycation? Connecticut? Massachusetts? No? You don't want to say? Okay, well, I want to thank you for your kind attention. My name is Nina Lasiga. I'm a travel coach. I'm not a travel agent. I help people take better trips that are more authentic, experiential. I do a lot of public speaking, so if you want to take my business card on my website, I have upcoming talks on various subjects. I talk about Solo Travel 101. I talk about the art of storytelling. And I've been talking about happiness, moments of happiness. I did a talk for a number of the happiness clubs. I don't know if there's a number not that far from here. And also be talking about that subject at the Bridgeport Public Library in October. So my website is gottatravelsolo.com. And you can also find out more about me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest. I have to admit I haven't updated lately, but there are some pictures there. And then if you really want to see where I'm headed, check out the meetup group. You get some, if you join us, you don't have to join us. You could see where we're going next. So thank you so much. So questions, any questions? Yes. Chongyang, Chuang, and then Yen. And if you go on